Russia steadily bombarded Ukrainian cities with drones, missiles, and airstrikes. The new attacks provoked a reaction from President Donald Trump, who on Sunday called Russian President Vladimir Putin absolutely crazy following the first reports of the strikes. The U.S. has already been weighing their involvement in negotiating a peace between Russia and Ukraine. But could this be the final straw for Trump, and what might be the outcome between Ukraine and Russia? Joining us now to talk about this, Congressman John McGuire, who serves on the House Armed Services Committee and the Committee on Oversight and Accountability. He represents the 4th Congressional District of Virginia, and he is a former Navy SEAL. Congressman McGuire, welcome to Washington Watch. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me. As a veteran, as you said, as a Navy SEAL, I see this as a way to continue service to our country. I'm a very limited government type of guy, but I do believe if the government does anything, it should keep us safe. And I believe the American people are less safe at home and abroad. And during my campaign last year for the Virginia 5th Congressional District, I listened to what world leaders had to say about Ukraine and Russia. And they all had something different to say. But one thing that one leader stood out, and that was President Trump. He said, I just want people to stop dying. He's working really hard to try to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, but as you can see, it seems like it's escalating. But President Trump is the art of the deal, and as a Christian, I think life is precious. It's a miracle. It must be protected. But I tell you what, either side doesn't seem like they want to give.
Yeah, let's talk about that, Congressman, because you've traveled the world. You were a Navy sniper in the SEALs. You understand that not everybody sees the world through the Judeo-Christian lens that we do. Even non-believers in this country still have this, this Judeo-Christian worldview where we value, for the most part, we value human life. That's not the case everywhere in the world. And when we see what's happening with Vladimir Putin and we know the history of Russia, what do you think is a likely outcome here?
Well, it remains to be seen. I know that if you don't stand up to a bully, one thing we learned in the military is a bully on every corner. If you don't stand up to him, it just gets worse. So we have to have a strong leader. You saw under President Trump's first administration, none of these foreign wars, strong leadership. And we see what happens when you have a vacuum with American leadership. But it's a tough situation. In the last couple of days, Putin has gained more ground. Now, he's fighting a war of attrition. And if you look at how many artillery shells he's making, it would take him 3, 4, 5 years to take over all of Ukraine if we did nothing. But hopefully we can do sanctions. I know President Trump's talking about more sanctions. I know that some of the European countries are stepping up, but it's a messy war. People are dying on both sides. And I don't see where, it's not productive for the world.
I think one of the steps that the president's already taken in this Congress is unleashing American energy, which can offset some of the money that Putin is making with their energy production.
Absolutely. We were energy independent in his first administration. First thing Biden did was he cut the Keystone Pipeline. Instead of making money on energy, we were spending money on energy with countries that don't support the United States or our goals. And so we are fast approaching doing everything we can in the one big, beautiful bill to make America not just energy independent, but energy dominant. And the second bill that I introduced in Congress was to make uranium on the list of critical minerals, which would allow the U.S. to use federal land for uranium. Right now, the majority, I'd say 70, 80% of the world's uranium is mined and processed in Russia or China. And we should not be getting these important minerals, these critical minerals, from countries that don't like us. And so energy dominance will change the world. It will help grow this economy and get us out of this national debt.
Congressman, you and I have spent a little bit of time visiting, talking with one another, and I want you to just kind of share a little bit. We've got about 3 minutes here left in this segment. Your path, your journey from Navy SEAL to congressman. It's not a normal path, although it would appear that maybe the Navy SEALs are trying to take over Congress. There's quite a few in there right now. How did that happen for you?
Yes, sir. Well, we have 6 Navy SEALs in the House of Representatives and my good friend Tim Sheehy in the U.S. Senate. So Speaker Mike Johnson says he thinks we've reached our Navy SEAL quota, but Ryan Zinke said he thinks we're halfway there. But no, it is a way to continue service. So let's see. I guess you may know just briefly, I was abandoned as a child. My sister and I ended up in foster homes, 9 different elementary schools. My grandfather rescued me and my sister and raised us until my dad got sober. And on November 5th, through the grace of God, we got President Trump. In the same 1 week, we got President Trump to win his election for president. My dad celebrated 42 years sobriety. My youngest brother got promoted to brigadier general. Everybody thinks he's older than me, but he's more mature. And I got elected to Congress. And my brother and I went to my dad, age 83, and said, had you not fought so hard to be sober, he wouldn't be brigadier general, and I wouldn't be in Congress. But I was in the state legislature, and I got the highest award for conservatism. I last year in the state Senate, I passed a pro-life bill. Every Republican in the House and the Senate said, John, you'll never pass this pro-life bill. But what I found that if you build relationships, even if you disagree politically, sometimes, not always, if you treat people with respect, you can turn a no into a yes and an impossible to a possible. And so faith and family are just number one. Our country was founded in the church, Judeo-Christian values. And on my campaign, I've been to almost 400 different churches in the district. And I got a long ways to go, but this is what I did when I was a Navy SEAL. I don't drink or smoke because of what it did to my childhood is why I ended up in foster homes. But when I was a Navy SEAL, I would go to church no matter where I was. Sometimes I'd have to carry a gun to go to church because, as you know, it's dangerous to be a Christian in some places. But I believe this is a calling. I believe this is where God wants me to be. And I would ask you and your audience, any prayers or advice, appreciate it. I've had a lot of success so far, but we got a long ways to go to save this country.
Well, John, I can assure you that there are folks across this country that will be praying for you and your colleagues to be successful in laying out just what you just described. I believe we need civility in our process. We need to treat one another as image bearers of God and work to move this nation back to a place of alignment with biblical truth. And I appreciate you being willing to do that. And thanks so much for coming on today. Always great to see you.
You as well. And the devil divides, Jesus reconciles or unites. And so I certainly fall short like everyone else, but we've got to be the salt and the light, and I'm going to do my best.
I know you will.